Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to talk about some very interesting things that are occurring in America that we all are aware of. But a lot of these things are now passed and signed into law. And I think that we should point out some very things that may affect you and your family. Some of these things are very pivotal, very pertinent for your life. And I think that it should be shared. First, we're going to handle, we're going to go over the war in Ukraine against Russia, or Russia against Ukraine, however you want to look at it. And I think it's important to point this out is the amount of money that America has continued to allocate to Ukraine in support of that war. And that's not even accounting for the amount of money that we've given to African countries, to South American countries, to other little small countries in Europe. I'm not going to even depict all of that information here today, but I will focus on another $40 billion aid package for Ukraine, which is now totaling $54 billion that we've given to a country we have no essential economic ties to. Yeah, and they're not even part of, NATO and that whole coalition of things. But yeah, we're going to point out some things here, family. So we're just going to stay very concise about the money here. It states that the funding is intended to support Ukraine through September. I wish that the American government will essentially support you and your family in lowering inflation and pumping money into the economy to lower gas prices and lower food prices. But nonetheless, emergency measures that provided $13.6 billion. It states that the new legislation will provide $20 billion in military assistance, $8 billion in general economic support, $5 billion to address global food shortages. And when they mean by global food shortages, all of this money is going to Ukraine, by the way. Then it states that more than $1 billion to help Ukrainian refugees. I wonder where that money is going to help the refugees at. Oh, that's right. Some of them are coming to America, as well as some of the neighboring countries in Europe. That's right. Also, as we are trying to reorient American foreign policy to confront China, and again, this number is very abstract. This number is very biased. Majority of our products, like 80% of our products, come from China, by the way. They said that Joe Biden is continuing to direct resources to the largest conflict in Europe since World War II. That's where the money is going, family. And some of you like, well, considering the American, budget of how much money we can essentially pump into the economy, I just want to jump right over before we get into vivid detail, is that America is a monetary sovereign, and that's what people are not understanding. I'm gonna read some definitions here. It says monetary sovereign is the power of the state to exercise exclusive legal control over its own currency. What does that mean? That means that America can control the value of their currency at will. They can pump billions and trillions of dollars inside of their own economy, and it doesn't devalue their own currency. It also states that broadly defined by exercise of the following powers: legal tender is exclusive authority to designate the legal tender forms of payment, meaning IOU, because we understand that majority of the Western world operate off of fiat currency, okay? They have some other definitions here. Let's see if anything is pertinent. It says the term sovereign money denotes the portion of a currency issued by a central bank or national monetary authority which is not made up of debt. Cash is another term often used to describe sovereign money, okay? So we'll stop right there, but you understand, given the definition of what America and a lot of Western European countries operate of. So let's go back. Let's get down into the money here. This is coming from New York Times. It states that more than $40 billion additional aid to Ukraine approved by Congress on Thursday brings the total U.S. commitment during the Russian invasion to roughly $54 billion. What are your reparations? Anyway, when combined with the aid package passed in March, it says traditional foreign aid is $31.4 billion. They're breaking it down in the different sections. It says economic support fund, $9.4 billion, military and security assurance, $6 billion, Weapons and other supplies, $12.5 billion. Grants and loans for military supplies, $4.7 billion. Food assistance, health care, and other aid, $7.0 billion. Migration and refuge assistance, $1.8 billion. Assistance for Europe, Eurasia, and Central Asia. As I was telling you, America gives the world money except for those U.S. freedmen. Other foreign aid, $1.5 billion. Yeah, this is very biased this morning, ladies and gentlemen, but nonetheless, you're going to get some interesting topics. U.S. military deployments and intelligence, $8.1 billion. Good morning, Brent C., Broad John, and Jay Darnell. Good morning to you all. Yeah, we're going to break this money down because America has been pumping money to every other country except its own that can alleviate some of the pressure of American families of the rising food prices. The Feds just rose the rates of the interest rate. So people are not being able to buy houses, even though I did a video that some of that is being relieved. This because the economy, and my wife, she hates when I use this term, that we're in a real estate bubble and is about to pop. I'll just say it's about to relieve some pressure. Some of them rates may come down just a little bit. And I mean a little bit, mean like point whatever percent. Here it says the bulk of the aid is allocated through traditional foreign channels that includes money to provide urgent support, health services, and food assistance to Ukraine refugees inside and outside Ukraine. So long story short, they're pumping billions of dollars to Ukraine for all matters when it comes to healthcare, food, and of course the war that they're fighting against Russia. Of course, America, we're one of the richest countries because again, we're a monetary sovereign. I wonder where our resources, where all this money is coming from. People will say the billions that we have with different corporations and organizations and business around the world. But again, I still stand firm, 10 toes down, that Africa is the richest country in the world by resources, okay? But when you come to the Western world, they can print money at will. Here's some other graphics for you guys to just kind of look at here. We're looking at the breakdown of the amount of money that we've been giving away. We've just been giving it away. It says here from March to May bill that the amount of economic support, and again, this is in billions of dollars. So whatever you see, this is in billions and billions and billions of dollars. I'm not going to run down this chart, but I do just want you to take a gander, take a glance at this, take a very quick look of the amount of money that we continue to give to other countries and mainly Ukraine when it comes to this one. It says $54 billion in total spending by the United States. 31.4 billion can be considered traditional foreign aid. That's higher than any annual amount given by the U.S. to a country in the last decade. Good job, Joe Biden. You've once again broken many of the records that no other U.S. president have ever done. They're now labeling Joe Biden as one of the worst U.S. presidents that's ever took office. And that's above Jimmy Carter, by the way, because Jimmy Carter was considered the worst U.S. president, and Donald Trump wasn't even in the picture because he actually passed some good policies. I'm no Trump supporter, but that's the truth of the matter. But they're now labeling Joe Biden and Kamala Harris the worst U.S. presidents in American history, and you can see why. Everything is going haywire, ladies and gentlemen. Everything is going haywire. Abortions. Oh yeah, this is another hot topic for you guys, right? We have, since Roe versus Wade is overturned, they're looking at it, 22 states that had laws or constitutional amendments that were already in place, which could be quickly used to try to ban abortion. They're going to use this, family. Now, I'm giving you some graphics here so you can, clearly and quickly depict. The yellow has abortion ban that predates 1973, okay? They have an abortion ban. So already that Roe versus Wade has been overturned, these states immediately has banned abortion because it's already in place, depending on if this was ever overturned, all right? It was a safeguard. It was a rudimentary, fundamental backup that they put in place if this were to occur. The turquoise blue already bans abortions after 6 weeks. So look for some of those states that you see in that turquoise blue to ban abortion permanently. Now, blue has a trigger law, and trigger law is basically saying if this happens, this is going to happen. So now that Roe versus Wade has been overturned, look for those states to ban abortion. And then the dark blue has multiple laws of banning abortions. And I know one of the most important things that you guys may want to look at is what states actually permits abortion. And we're going to get into that as well. And it states here, 1973 decision, and Roe ruled that there was a constitutional right to abortion. Now, the Supreme Court justice at that time, they're the ones who deemed that, right? Even though that wasn't in the Constitution, okay? And listen, I'm neutral on this, okay? Some people believe in pro-life, some people believe in pro-choice. I'm just doing pro-reading. That's all I'm doing right now. It states that other states have so-called trigger laws that would ban abortion in the event their Roe was overturned by the higher court. It also states that dozen states will ban abortion after 6 weeks, which abortion rights advocates. Now, some of these states may stay in tune with the laws they already have, meaning that if you do not get an abortion within the first 6 weeks, you have to have that baby. And if you go out and get an abortion, it's going to be considered a crime, whether it be state or even federal. They may even upgrade it to a federal crime, not a misdemeanor. I forgot, what's that? A felony. Thank you, a felony. So anyway, let's look at some of the states that essentially that will permit abortion. I see we got M. Branham in here and we got Drico. They took Miranda rights right away as well. M. Branham says, I am pro, I make the choice of what I do with my body. Okay, I support that. All right, it states here now in the, I guess, gold color, those are the states that are permitting abortion. The red, restricted, and abortion is banned. And in the purple, those states are to be determined. So people in Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, you can get an abortion. Now, you have Colorado, and you also have New Mexico, okay? As we stated before, these are the states that you can have abortion, where you have pro-choice, essentially. Minnesota is also another state that is permitted. Let me just read one of these to kind of give you perspective. Minnesota says abortion is legal up to the point of fetal viability, around the 24th week of pregnancy. Okay, again, that goes well beyond the 6 week threshold that other states have already put in place. The state has some restrictions, including a 24-hour waiting period, with state mandated counseling. Both parents generally must be notified prior to a minor getting an abortion, and only physicians can perform abortions. Only physicians. No immediate change is expected, even with Roe versus Wade overturned, because the Minnesota Supreme Court ruled in 1995 that the state constitution protects abortion rights. Okay, let's look at this. We have Illinois, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. We got Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, some other states in here, New Jersey. So primarily New England, right? Maryland, Delaware. What else we have in here? Okay. So those states are still permitted abortions. And now for the fam who's watching, I know some of you may want this reference. So I'm going to go throw this link in the chat so you can reference it yourself. And you might want to pass that out to people who may be affected by these laws. So hopefully this is good information for you guys that you may have not seen already. So that link is in the chat. And one more state that I failed to mention down here is Hawaii. It states here that the state legalized abortion in 1970 when it became the first state in the nation to allow the procedure at a woman's request, meaning pro-choice, right? The state allows abortion until a fetus will be viable outside the womb, okay? Outside the womb. So a lot of these states have that are permitting abortion. This one's stating 24 to 26 weeks. This one's the 24th week. Let's state here. I'm seeing some very clear distinctions here as far as the weeks are concerned. 24 weeks in Nevada. California, you have to read that for yourself, family. You know, they always go above and beyond anything. So yeah, you guys will have to read that for yourself. There's a lot of information to take from that particular website. Now, moving on to Biden signs bipartisan gun safety bill into law. He said, God willing, is going to save a lot of lives. Okay. Now, the House on Friday passed the bill 234 to 193, including 14 Republicans. Look at that. Maybe not all Republicans are pro-gun. Voting with Democrats. The Senate passed the bill in a late night vote Thursday. And that's the thing that, family, we have to understand. This whole Democratic Republic thing, they try to pin one political party against another. To me, they're all just part of the same white supremacy bird. And I don't mean each and every one of them are white supremacists. I'm just stating the truth here, okay, as I see it, of course. But nonetheless, there are, how can I say? I don't want to say good people. Some people who are willing to do the right thing by the people of the United States of America. I'll say that, if that makes any sense. Anyway, it states here that they had a assault weapons ban that expired back in 1994. It says, though it fails to ban any weapons, listen to this. This is the so-called gun safety bill law that was passed into law. It said, though it fails to ban any weapons and falls short of what Biden and his party had advocated for, the polls showed most Americans want to see. So already this is kind of like a do-nothing law. Now, there are some differences that 18-year-olds now cannot buy certain weapons. They have to be 21. But again, family, we're going to go into the details of this one because if you don't read it, you won't totally understand it, okay? Now, again, it doesn't ban any weapons. And the one thing that majority of the American people, okay, that I've kind of just seen is that why do regular everyday Americans have assault rifles? They're meant for war. I'm a former U.S. military, and I'm gonna tell you, outside of the military, why do you need assault weapons? And listen, it's not that I'm pro-gun or anti-gun, because I have firearms, but at the same time, I never saw the need of having an assault weapon in my house. I can understand a rifle for hunting and sport. I can understand a handgun for personal self-defense. I can understand a shotgun for home defense. But why in the world will you need a military assault weapon? And of course, these so-called assault weapons are not automatic, but they have like these bump stocks that make them automatic. Like it's totally crazy what we have Americans have done with guns to essentially, quote unquote, for sport and or to protect ourselves. Now, I'm trying to recall a story that someone broke in someone's home and someone said, go grab the AR-15 to protect us. Most people grab a shotgun or a handgun in most cases, okay? And of course, I know they have competition with assault rifles, but again, this is me. This is my conjecture. This is my bias. I do not believe that everyday Americans need assault rifles. What you doing with that? Okay, but anyway, I'm off it. I'm off my Trojan horse. Now, let's go into some of these bills, right? Let's go into some, not bills, but how they broke this gun safety bill down. $750 million to help states implement and run crisis intervention programs. That's kind of self-explanatory. I'm not going to key in on that. We see Brent C said red flag laws are going to hurt gun owners, and Trump banned bump stocks. Yes, he did. But they are creating different variations, and they're not going to call it a bump stock, Brent C. You probably want to do a little research on that. So be very cognizant of how innovative gun makers are, that they will read that legislation on the bump stock, and the only thing they need to change is a centimeter here, a time delayed device here, or something on those lines, okay? Because this dealing with the militaries and the many guns and armaments that I've seen, believe me, there's always gray areas within the law. Look at tax loopholes. Tax loopholes exist because the federal government wants them to exist. And the only people who really understand those tax loopholes are those people who work for the IRS, those people who do your taxes essentially. And I don't mean it like H&R Block and nothing like that. I mean actual CPAs, okay? And those millionaires and billionaires, they go to expert CPAs to exercise their rights under the tax loophole, if that makes any sense. Now, this is very interesting. Closing the so-called boyfriend loophole. It says here that the legislation closes a years-old loophole in domestic violence law that bar individuals who have been convicted of domestic violence crimes against their spouses or partners or with whom they share children or cohabitated with from having guns. Old statutes didn't include intimate partners who may not live together but married or share children. Now, family, what's important about this particular so-called boyfriend loophole and that they can't have weapons, it states right here, however, would allow those convicted of misdemeanor domestic violent crimes to restore their gun rights after 5 years if they haven't committed any other crimes. So again, we go right back to get your hands off my guns. We're talking about convicted misdemeanors that they had domestic violence, that once they were banned not to have weapons, but now they can have weapons. But what about this? Now, Obama tried to pass this into law, and of course, it got shot down by every Republican in the world because they understand majority of the people, melanated people in America, who have been to jail, that you have to disclose if you've been to jail. To me, that is double jeopardy, and that is what Obama, one of the good things he did in office, was trying to state. Why are you still being labeled and judged again to let your employer know that, hey, you had a nonviolent crime, right? And that you should disclose that information. But we're going to give you the right to have your gun after 5 years if you haven't committed any other crimes. Isn't that crazy? That first we have the loophole in domestic violence law, and it states right here. Let me just highlight that for you guys. The new bill will bar anyone who is convicted of a domestic violence crime, meaning you fighting your girlfriend, you fighting your wife, you fighting your husband, etc., against someone that have a continuous serious relationship or of a romantic or intimate nature from having a gun. Meaning you can't have a gun because you guys are fighting this, that, and the other, and charges were brought against you, and you have that on your record. You have a domestic violence crime on your record. You are now banned from having a gun. But wait, there's an exception. If you're going to be a good little boy, you're going to be a good little girl, then after 5 years of not committing any other crime, you can have your guns back. Yep. You see that? Who you think put that into place? Who do you think ensured that this gun bill got passed with that? Some of you are going to say them damn Republicans. Some of you are going to say, well, some Democrats probably threw that in there too. I don't know, family. I'm going to leave that up to you. I don't want to lead you one way or another. We're moving on. Requires more gun sellers to register as federally licensed firearm dealers. Why not all? Why not all? So anytime somebody buys a gun, they go into a federal registry. Why not all? It says this requires more. The bill goes after individuals who sell guns as primary sources of income, but have previously evaded registering as federally licensed firearm dealers. This is significant because federal license dealers are required to administer a background check before they sell a gun to someone. Why not all? Those pawn shops and those gun stores you go to in your local county or local state, why not all of them have to be federally licensed to sell firearms? I wonder why. Good morning, Jermaine Anderson. Thank you for moderating, sir. It also states more thorough reviews of people ages 18 to 21 who want to buy guns. Wait. I thought you raised the age to 21 of people who are allowed to buy guns. It says here that, and I had to highlight this, the bill encourages states, like, we really want you guys to include juvenile records, not mandating it like you had to wear your mask and some other things around the pandemic. I'm going to alleviate from saying, but nonetheless, it states that the bill encourages, like, you really need to eat your vegetables. Like, no, you don't have to, but we're just encouraging you to eat your vegetables because it's probably the best thing. But no, you don't have to. That's all that's stating. The bill encourages to include juvenile records in the National Instant Criminal Background Check System with grants. So if you do it, we give you a little money, as well as implement a new protocol for checking those records. It gives NICS 3 days to review an individual's record. If something potentially disqualifying comes up, the NICS gets an additional 7 days. If the review is not completed by then, the gun transfer goes through. Very interesting. So you're telling me that you're going to actually give money to the states that are encouraged by the bill, that actually does this thorough review of people ages 18 to 21, but you're not going to make it a federal law. You're not going to quote unquote mandate it. Okay. I just don't get it, family. Like, if we really want to change the dynamic in America around guns, then I know a lot of you are not for big government, but unfortunately, in some things, I am big government. Like, take over this whole anything dealing with guns. I think the federal government, and some of you going to disagree, and that's fine. Don't unsubscribe. This is my views on this. We all have different views. But I just think they should take charge of this. Like, everyone who has, I don't care, a handgun, a rifle, a shotgun, a AR-15, everyone must have a license. Everyone. And I know now that states are talking about it's your constitutional right to have a firearm now. Texas and Florida and states like that are implementing constitutional rights to carry, meaning that you can essentially go to the store, go to the pawn shop, buy a firearm without any training, without any safety classes. Because the only thing they really have to do is get those bootlicking Supreme Court justices and say, this Constitution was written back in the damn 1800 time frame, and that it needs to be updated. We're still living off a Constitution that are hundreds of years old. I forgot what country it was. It's either Sweden or Switzerland. I always get them mixed up. That their citizens also have the right to carry firearms as well, but they don't have mass shootings. They don't have all of this gun violence. And I'm not trying to take away people's guns. As I stated before, I have guns myself, but I'm perfectly okay with letting the federal government know I have guns in my home. Who is not okay with letting law enforcement know that they have guns in your home? It's something like, well, me, because if they come and mistaken my address and they break down my home, they know I got guns. They're going to start shooting first and ask questions later. You could be right. But for the sake of my family, for the sake of my friends, and for the sake of the entire nation, there has to be something done with these damn guns. See, me having a gun, you would like, oh, he's pro guns. And for those who like, I hate guns, they do too much damage. I understand why America even wrote this into the Constitution. This was during a time when Great Britain was invading America. And those farmers, those agricultures, those people who had, cows and all those ranchers, they all got together and they formed state militias, now the National Guard, but they formed state militias to defend America from an invading British forces. I totally understand that. And we made it very hard for those British troops to settle down anywhere because we had small little militias, anywhere from 5 people to 100 people, get together with their shotguns and their rifles and their handguns to go fight against, most of them was muskets, but anyway, to fight against these British forces, right? So I understand that, but family, this was during the 17 and 1800s. Do everyday Americans need assault rifles? Every state has a National Guard, except DC. Did DC got a National Guard? It's not a state, that's why I said that. But anyway, And then we have U.S. active troops, meaning that they're controlled by the federal government, right? For usually foreign defense. Then we have internal defense, National Guard, that's controlled by the states. I just don't get it, family. And you may be totally opposed to what I'm saying and not totally understand where you're coming from. Drico says, let's talk about guns, that many people from the hood don't buy guns because they get tipped off the train, and then boom, guns in the street. Jay the Informant, thumbs up. How about a tax write-off for people to take classes? That's interesting. That's very interesting. But again, Brent C, and again, you guys may disagree. I understand the tax write-off because you're using that as an incentive for people to go get these classes. No, it should be law. It should be a federal, state, local, county, municipal, whatever. It should be a law that every person, before they can buy a firearm, they must go to a class. Okay, I can't give you the time frame, a day class, a 3-day, whatever they deem, but they need to first know how to properly load and unload the weapon. Some guns don't even have safety measures. Some have trigger guards. Like, they need to learn all of that about the gun, not just the gun they're buying, but guns in general. And I mean handguns, shotguns, rifles. Yes, this class might be a week or two. But for me, understanding the gun, how the gun operates, how to make the gun safe, what are some of the safety things like having a gun safe and all trigger guards, all these things are very pertinent to sustain life without killing people with guns. Did you guys see that story about the 5-year-old that shot his dad accidentally playing with his gun? Because again, the dad left the gun on the damn table. Of course, you can go through the internet and find all of these stories, family. I'm just stating this. I'm not against guns, but I am against just the malpractice of United States citizens going to buy guns and essentially do not know how to handle it safely. That is what I'm against. I'm against reckless people dealing with guns. There should be so many damn gun laws. There should be so many damn gun laws that you shouldn't even want a gun. This is what I mean. Should you be handling a gun while intoxicated? And I don't care what you're intoxicated with. Alcohol, weed, heroin, meth. I don't care. Should you be handling a gun while intoxicated? Of course, I know 99% of you should be saying no. Hopefully you're saying no. But anyway, I'm off my high horse. I'm going to read some of your comments here, but I'm going to go through this very quickly. It states that it creates new federal statutes against gun trafficking and straw trafficking. And if you understand the whole straw man argument, meaning that me and Jermaine Anderson are buddies, I can't buy a gun, but Jermaine Anderson goes and buy a gun and he gives it to me. That's a straw man trafficking, meaning that you're going to buy guns for people that can't buy guns for themselves. That's all that means, okay? Increasing funding for mental health programs ensues. Oh yeah, you definitely need this because this gun safety pill does nothing. You're going to need mental health programs. Absolutely. It states here that the money is directed to a series of programs, many of which already exist, but will be funded more robustly under the new law. Interesting. The legislation makes it easier to go after those who are buying guns for individuals who are not allowed to purchase weapons on their own. Wait a minute. Doesn't this remind you of Kyle Rittenhouse? Remember his buddy that bought the assault rifle for him, but both of them got off totally free? Oh, now you're going to put this into law. Wow. That's great. That's great, Kyle. Kyle and friends. Good job, guys. Let's see here. Jay the Informant states, I'm for guns, but only handguns, shotguns, and hunting rifles. I'm with you on that. I'm totally with you on that, Jay. Because I understand what handguns are used for. That's usually used for self-defense and sport. Shotguns are used for home defense and sport. And hunting rifles are usually used for hunting and sport. Okay? Jay also states that when they wrote the Constitution, some of the founding fathers were probably thinking about the Indians who were attacking them. That too. That too, I agree wholeheartedly. I absolutely agree. And now the Indians are not attacking because America put them on reservations, say, we're going to give you reparations for eternity. Just shut up and dribble, basically. He also states we should ask Jim Clyburn. He's been off for like 32 years. He has to know. Jay, you a clown, man. Jay is a clown. Okay. Leave Jim Crow Clyburn alone. You know he ain't doing nothing in office. He's just the old Democratic whip that whips nothing. He whips absolutely nothing. He gives reparations for everybody else except foundational Black Americans, aka U.S. Freemen, aka American Indians, aka the Negro. Yeah, I said a lot there. Draco says, is it Draco or Draco? I don't know. It's all about the money at the end of the day, brother. America loves money more than anything. You are 1,000% correct, my friend. You are 1,000% correct. Cannot agree with you more. Brent C states, so you are against the individual rights guaranteed by the Constitution. That's interesting, Brent C. Am I against the individual rights guaranteed by the Constitution? Well, Brent C., I have a question for you, my friend. Is the Constitution flawed? Uh-oh. People hate this. Red-blooded Americans hate when I ask that. I'm just asking. I'm not saying that it is. But I am stating, is the Constitution, this is a question, is the Constitution flawed? That's all I have. Can anyone answer that? Is the Constitution flawed? If anyone can answer that, or sum it up, or break it down, please do. Family, I just want to know. I want to know your personal opinion. Is the Constitution that was, let me see, when was it written? I forgot. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establishing justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Is that the preamble? I think that's the preamble, right? Establish justice and ensure domestic tranquility. I keep saying trans, but it's tranquility. All right, let's get to it. Let's get to it. Because Brent C. asked a very distinctive question. He said, am I against the individual rights guaranteed by the Constitution? Let's see. M. Branham says, I have my concealed. I don't mind an annual exam or evaluation. And Brent C. said, yeah, it's flawed, but it depends on who interprets the law. Okay, I'm just asking you, Brent. That's it. What do you think? I think you're saying yes. Jay the Informant, we know it's flawed because everybody on every other side is complaining about it. Draco says, I believe every assault rifle and shotgun should be banned except hunting rifles and handguns, my opinion. Man, I can't agree with you guys more. Okay, I cannot agree with you guys more than I've already have. I'm trying to just circle through this thing, right? There's so many sections and articles within the Constitution, and of course we'll be here all day reading it, but I'm trying to get to the point about guns. I know it's the second. Yes, it's a lot, family. I'm scrolling through here. Let me show you what I'm looking at. This is where I'm at. This is archives.gov. So I'm on a federal government website. I kind of like to give you guys the truth. I haven't looked through this thing in so long. So please excuse me. Does anyone know what section or article it is? I should have already had this propped it up, but I didn't want to go here. This is making the video just a little bit long, but I think it's important. I'm just going to type in the Second Amendment. How about that? Let me do that. Let me get this thing popping very quickly. Let me go here first because I think this is important. Let me go right to the Second Amendment. I'm going to go to constitution.congress.gov. And they're giving this vague definition. It says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. A well-regulated militia. Now, Brent C. said something very important. He said, it really depends on how it's interpreted. Did Brent C. say? I think Brent C. said that. Yes, it's fall, but it depends on who interprets the law. You are absolutely correct, my friend. Now, this is a offsite. This is a third-party website. It says that the Second Amendment protects an individual right to possessing a firearm unconnected with service in the militia and to use that arm for traditional lawful purposes such as self-defense within the home. Okay. I want to go a little bit deeper here. Let me see if I can find something. I like to go to the federal U.S. website. So let's see here, because they're now just scrutinizing the Second Amendment. I don't want to do that. I just want to read it for what it is. And I know up here we got Wikipedia. Wikipedia says the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution protects the right to keep and bear arms. It was ratified, blah, blah, blah. Okay. No. I want something better than that. I want something that comes maybe from the archives. I really want to get into this because I know a lot of people. Yep, we read the preamble. But anyway, let me see what you guys are saying. Plenty of biases in the American legal system. Absolutely. But here's the thing. Can I go back, family? Do you mind if I go back? I'm going to go back right here. Because, again, I like to go to the federal government website so you don't think I'm trying to interject anything into the argument here. Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia. Regulated. What does that mean? What does well-regulated mean? Like, of course, we all can interpret this in our own interpretations, but what does regulated mean? Brent C says Supreme Court gave Second Amendment backing a couple years ago. A well-regulated militia. Can anyone define regulated, please? And we're going to just do a quick Google search of what regulated means. Again, I don't want to give you too much conjecture. I just want for us to understand the etymology of words and what they mean. Regulated, that's interesting. Control or maintain the rate of speed or maintain the process so that it operates properly. It goes down again. It says control or supervise something, especially a company or business activity, by means of rules and regulations. Wow. So we keep hearing the word control. We keep hearing the word maintain and supervise. What does it mean if something is regulated? To bring under the control of authority, makes rules concerning laws, regulate water quality, blah, 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 to control the time, amount, degree, or rate. The dam regulates water flow. Regulate means control. It means control. So if we're talking about a well-regulated militia, millions of Americans just going out buying guns is not regulated. And then we're stating that Americans who have guns are militia. Are we not? Is that my bias? I don't know. But here's the thing. If we are regulated, how are we regulated? How? We don't even have systems in place because the Second Amendment is protected under the federal, jurisdiction, right? Under the federal law, right? Under the federal government, correct? Isn't that what gives the Constitution its power? Just let me know if I'm wrong. But again, we go to a well-regulated. What does well mean? Can we do that too? Oh yeah, we're gonna pander this thing. What does well mean? Last time I checked, well means good. Well means everything's okay. Well, in a good or satisfactory way, in a thorough manner. I'm not making this up, family. This coming from the dictionary. What does well mean? In a good or satisfactory way, in a thorough manner, in good health, free or recovered, sensible, advisable. So that means that we must have a good, controlled militia. Tell me if I'm wrong. We must have a good, controlled militia, not just a bunch of people going out and buy guns under no federal or state jurisdiction with a simple background check. No, there needs to be regulated. That means we need to have a federal registry of people who are buying these guns. Yes, that's what I believe. You may disagree, but again, this is an open space for you all. You guys can comment as well. I will read them. because we all gonna have different opinions, like Brent C said, of how we interpret the law. But I'm going all the etymology of words. Well means good, satisfactory. Regulated means control, under authority. Not just a ragbag people that somehow get together and start rooting and tooting and shooting. No. It says a well-regulated militia. That's all we can stop right there, but I'll read on. Being necessary to the security of a free state. What does that mean? Being necessary to the security of a free state. Now, I interpret that is that no one can infringe on your rights within your state, and that's why you have a well-regulated militia. Like keeping your state free and not controlled under the federal government. That's why the forefathers built this. So essentially the government doesn't try to control the people. But within that, they have said it needs to be regulated. Then it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. Right? And infringed could mean all sorts of things. Scrutinized, taken away. Let's look it up. Let's look up these words that the forefathers put. I want to make sure that I'm not trying to sway the argument my way. Let's see here. Infringe. Actually break the terms of making an authorized copy. Act so as to limit or undermine, right? So they can't break the terms of this Constitution and they can't undermine the Constitution, right? But here's the thing, family. We can't omit part of this amendment either. Because here they state, comma, a well-regulated militia, comma, and it says being necessary to the security of a free state. We want to keep our states free and that they can govern themselves with governors and assistant governors, etc. Right? The right of the people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. But it goes back to a well-regulated militia. People are just buying guns to buy guns, right? Self-defense, home defense, sport, mass shootings, etc. That's why people are buying guns. All right, who we have in the room? Let's see here. Brent C says we have gun laws now, regulation. I mean, I'll say this, Brent, you're absolutely correct, but I don't think it's well regulated. Key word in that is well regulated. Because if it was well regulated, I'm not saying that it will stop mass shootings, but I just don't think that many people will be out there with assault rifles shooting up and killing innocent people. Brent C also says that no one under 18 can own a gun. Felons cannot own guns. Anyone can be sworn in and deputized for the state security. But here's the thing, though, Brent. It states that after 5 years, someone who's committed a domestic violent crime is lawful to once again carry, own, and buy a gun. Now, I know some people, after 5 years, whatever dispute they had against their significant other, it's not over. They're playing the long game. So they'll go out and buy a lawful handgun under the law and do what they must. Am I stating that someone with a misdemeanor of domestic violent crime should not obtain guns? Somebody would say, well, that's against their constitutional right. That doesn't say in the Constitution, if X, Y, and Z occurs, that you should not be able to buy a gun. See, we can go flip-flop this thing back and forth. Brent C says it was a ragtag group who fought against England. It sure was. It sure was. You are absolutely correct. But Brent, here's my opposing statement. 17 and 1800. We are 100+ years removed from a non-industrialized world. See, if we don't evolve, people, we will get stuck. In my opinion, and not just the Second Amendment, not just the first article, second article, and all the sections of the Constitution. That whole damn Constitution needs to be revamped, right? They still got slavery in the Constitution. So that's a whole different story for a different time. Tony says the people are the militia. Yes, absolutely. But are they well regulated? The Second Amendment right there coming from the Constitution Congress.gov says well regulated. Brent C. Opposed and said that we have gun laws, which means regulation. I will argue the fact that it's not well regulated. Okay. Police officers have a high rate of domestic violence. Will they be stripped? They should be, right? Good question. Good question, Brent. And then here's another thing with that question. Should they lose their jobs? Are they going to be like English cops where they just have a whistle and a nightstick? They want to keep their forefather views alive. There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Drico. Thank you. See, here's the thing. We're living so much in the past, we can't even see the future. It doesn't matter how many mass killings, mass shootings that we have. We just believe that when a law is made, it should stay in place forever. But guess what? Roe versus Wade was overturned. Roe versus Wade was overturned because another group of people and another time, because don't forget, Roe versus Wade was in place since what, 1973, and here we are in 2022, right? All these years have passed, and now people are changing their stance on abortion and abortion rights and abortion bans. So you're telling me the very foundation of America, of a country that has been revolutionized, that has evolved, that has all these innovations in technology, that we should not revamp, update, revise the Constitution? Nah, bro. Let me tell you this. Every once in a while, a house that has a great foundation needs to be updated, needs to be patched. Sometimes you have cracks in the foundation that you need to go get some concrete or some sealant and seal that thing up. And there are a lot of loopholes in our Constitution because Brent C. pointed out it's up to interpretation. And it should not be up until interpretation. They should be speaking a matter and factly when it comes to the Constitution. Because if this is the backbone of America, if this is the foundation of America, it should not be left up until interpretation. It should not be. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, they should lose their jobs, and the Supreme Court strikes it down, then we accept it. Absolutely. You guys have a great and wonderful Sunday. Thank you for sharing your time with me today. For you guys who are just joining, please rewind the tape. Please listen to some of the arguments here and some of the stories that we covered. Very, very great discussion. Again, there's no bias here except my own, and I will read your comments as they come in. Wait a minute. Late comment. White genetic survival determined that being overturned. If I only had the time, I would address that. You guys have a great, wonderful day. This is Financial Literacy 101. And don't forget about that $54 billion that Biden has given to Ukraine. I'm out.